the cat, and the cat was without purr. The ether stirred, and there was milk, and the cat saw that it was good. It was good. Ya-da-da-dee-dum-da-dum, ya-dee-da-dum. A hand stretched forth across the milk and scratched behind the cat's ears, and it felt good. Da-da-da-dee-dum. Then the firmament shook, and there was produced a paper bag. Then the cat went forth into the bag and sing that it was good. She fell asleep, purring.
Farmer Dibble had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm she had a cow, E-I-E-I-O, with a moo here and a moo there, here a moo, there a moo, everywhere a moo moo. Farmer Dibble had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm she had some pigs, E-I-E-I-O, with an oink, oink, oink here and an oink, oink there, here an oink, there a oink, everywhere. Old Farmer Dibble had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm she had some goats, E-I-E-I-O, with a me here and a me there, here a me, there a me, everywhere a me. Farmer Dibble had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm she had some chickens, E-I-E-I-O, with a bagong here and a bagong there, here, there, everywhere. Old Farmer Dibble had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Come hoof and trunk and tail and horn, paw and wing and claw. Come bird and reptile, mammal born of all full of nature's law. Bring bark and crow and ribbit too. Got a ribbit in here? There we go, thank you. And silent stare and hiss, Bring purr and trill and warble too, and voice no ear can miss. We gather here, each life and all, to celebrate and sing, to honor creatures large and small. 'Tis holiness they bring. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. My name is Sandy, and I will be your worship associate for today. This is a welcoming congregation, and we are always working on how to better welcome and care for one another. If this is your first time here, we're so glad you've come, and whoever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. As we begin, we want to acknowledge that this church occupies land in Huichin, the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. We understand that we continue to benefit from the seizure and occupation of this land. We acknowledge and embrace our responsibility to take restorative action. We affirm that this is deeply felt and commit our congregation to be in right relationship with Indigenous communities, aligning in solidarity, supporting Indigenous projects, and caring properly for our land. Let us kindle our chalice flame with these words by Florence Kaplow. We light this chalice in honor of the animal realm, furred and hoofed, two-legged, four-legged, many-legged, fanged and clawed, gentle and fierce, wild and tame. May we remember that all animals are our relatives, worthy of our care and respect. We also pause to remind ourselves of some of the foundations of resilience. With Reverend Michelle, we light a candle of courage, a candle of acts of service, a candle of fellowship, and a candle of hope. May we find and cultivate these foundations of resilience in ourselves and in one another. Now, please join us in singing our opening song, number 203 in the gray hymnal, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. The words will appear on the screen.
We have a little surprise welcome to get to do in our service, too. Come on up front, guys. These are some of the members of the Kensington Fire Department who are joining our campus for the next couple of years while their building is getting retrofitted for better earthquake stuff, right? Yes, technical term, there we go. So we are so glad that you're here. I wanted to make sure and officially welcome y'all and introduce y'all to everyone here at the church. You're welcome. And before you go, Larry, stand up for me. So also our member Larry Nagel is also part of the overall firefighting work of this area as president of the Kensington Fire Protection District, which he was elected to in the last election. So just also want to thank you, Larry, for your work. So thank you all so much, and we are truly so glad that you're here with us. And for all the work you do. Oh my goodness, thank you.
Yes, welcome. All right. Please join me in saying our covenant. It will be on the screen. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
I forgot I keep this on during this part. There we go. So let me invite our young folks who are young in body or young at heart or in spirit to come on down to the front for our time for all ages. We can all pretend we're young in body, right? Come on down. Especially the Standing on the Side of Love t-shirts. Those are awesome. Did you all know that at many protests and gatherings and such, we Unitarian Universalists are known as the yellow shirt people because of how many of us are wearing those awesome, hideously colored yellow shirts. We stand out, which was the goal. All right, welcome you all. So anybody know kind of what overall topic we're talking about today? Sometimes you can get it based on what I'm wearing. Animals, that's right. Who here has a favorite animal? Oh, there we go. All right, I'm curious. What's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is cats.
Cats. Who else? What's your favorite animal? Cats. Cats? Cat lovers. By the way, you see what's on the back? Cats on the back. What's your favorite animal?
A lot.
A lot?
Yeah.
A lot of different animals. I like you. What's your favorite animal?
A dog.
A dog. What's yours?
Every
Animal. I like this too. And you're holding a snake today. That's a good cobra. Hold that up. We had a cobra up here on the chancel today. What's your favorite? A panda. Excellent. Anybody else? What's your favorite? A dolphin. Anybody else? Yeah, what's your favorite?
The leafy sea dragon.
The leafy sea dragon. Who's seen one of those? Those are so pretty. And who else? Yeah.
Butterfly.
A butterfly. And you know, when I say animal, I thank you, Heaven, for that. When I say animal, I don't just mean the mammal kinds, but all sorts of other kinds, whether they're reptiles or birds or insects or... Okay, is there anybody here who really likes spiders? Ah! What's your favorite animal? Spiders. Anybody here have animals they don't like or they're afraid of? Yeah, spiders and snakes for me. What's yours? Uh-huh. You don't like bees? There are a lot of people here who don't like bees. Yeah, what's your favorite? Or not favorite. We just talked about favorites. What don't you like or you're afraid of?
Wasps.
Wasps.
They can sting you over and over and over.
They can sting you over and over and over. That's right. Bees can only do it once. What one don't you like? Hornets. Hornets. Same reason? Yeah. But you know, even heaven with mosquitoes. And you know, what is kind of complicated is that even for these animals that we're afraid of or we don't like, they also fit into this great web of life. I say I don't like spiders. I'm terrified of them, actually. But they're part of the balance for making sure to keep the mosquitoes and other bugs so there aren't too many of them. And snakes, there are snakes that do really good things for keeping down other sorts of rodents and other things. I don't know about cobras, though. Cobras are scary. Anybody know why their favorite animal is their favorite? My favorite's lemurs. I have no idea why. Anybody know why your favorite is your favorite? Yeah, people usually don't know why their favorite animal is their favorite, and that's fine, because that is just part of our feeling that connection and compassion with the animals of this earth, which is so important. Yeah.
Sometimes the other reason is animals, they have symbols behind them. Like, for example, the spider, the symbolism behind it is patience.
Oh, sometimes she's saying animals have symbolism and meaning behind them. And for instance, the spider's symbol is patience. We're not going into why I don't like spiders then. Let's just not go there. But yeah, there's a lot of metaphors and meanings behind spiders and behind different animals. And then there are creation stories and folk stories that have all these other meanings behind them. So animals are pretty awesome, aren't they? What would our world be like without animals? Oh, goodness, I don't even want to think about that. Yeah.
Butterflies represent freedom.
Butterflies represent freedom. You know, another thing butters represent is migration. So a lot of immigrants' rights movements, butterflies are the symbol of that. Did y'all know that? Okay, I'm seeing some yeses, but some no's too. Yeah, butterflies also are one of the symbols being lifted up when talking about immigrant rights. All right, so today is the first celebration chapel of the year. Super awesome. Heaven's got some really great plans for it. And some folks have asked, Celebration Chapel is for the kids, but adults who want to come are welcome. Is that right?
Please do.
Okay, so Celebration Chapel is for the younger ones, but if you want to join in and you're young at heart or mind or spirit, you are welcome to. Although we will also continue to have worship in here, of course, and talk more about animals. So Katya is going to lead singing the kids to Celebration Chapel in the fireside room. Oh, Katya and others. Great.
Sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice.
Thank you. And, oh, I'm sorry, you can go next.
And this next song is a song I wrote in honor of a friend's dear departed Chihuahua. It's Bambi's song.
Now let us come to that tender time in our service that we make for what may be weighing on our hearts, for our cares and concerns for one another, and today reaching out to our cares and concerns for the life around us on our planet. During our time of silence this morning, I welcome you to speak the names, whether out loud or in your heart, of either animals or creatures that you may be worrying about or caring about in our world, as well as speaking the names of any of your beloved animals who may be with you now or may simply be residing in your heart. I open now this space for us to lift this compassion for our creatures into this space. As we hold these and more in our hearts, I invite us into this time of meditation with the well-known words of Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound and fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. As we rest in that embrace, I invite you to remain seated for a song of meditation, Comfort Me.
Comfort
that song. Our reading this morning is by Jane E. Malden, Monarchs and Mysteries. I am frequently astonished by monarch butterflies, delicate beyond belief. They fly thousands of miles each year from all parts of the continent to settle in the forests of central Mexico. To my delight, their migratory route takes them along a bridge near my home. A few days ago, I was driving on this bridge during their annual display of fragility and strength. As my car whipped by at over 60 miles per hour, the tiny creatures were tossed haphazardly by the winds. Yet I knew there was a continual southward purpose to their struggle. Much as I admired these fragile butterflies, I could not avoid hitting several of them. While orange wings smashed into my windshield, I remembered a chilling science fiction story I had read as a child. A man of the near future travels back in time to the age of the dinosaurs to sightsee in that era. Despite the tour guide's warnings, he leaves the path in his excitement, and while in the underbrush, steps on and kills one tiny, fragile butterfly. When he returns to his own time, the world is horribly different. People are much crueler, and an international fascist government now rules. The death of one butterfly in the distant past has changed all of the world history. As I travel the many miles of the bridge during the annual monarch butterfly migration, I wonder if I am wreaking any changes in the world to come. What effect do my words and deeds, both on the bridge and off, make in the environment and in the human world? Surely they do make a difference. Our kindness affects lives we will never see. Our cruelty casts ripples that may drown strangers. Whether smashing butterflies or helping a friend, our actions will echo through history. We will not always know the ramifications of our deeds, but they are there. We are surely connected one to another, and each of us to the greater world of monarchs and mystery.
This past week held the feast of St. Francis of Assisi, a Catholic saint from the late 12th and early 13th century in Italy. Some have called him the patron saint of ecology, and many associate him with care for the animals. Of Francis, a medieval biographer named Thomas of Celano wrote, quote, "He overflowed with the spirit of love, not only for men and women who suffered, but also for the animals, reptiles, birds, and any other creatures with or without consciousness. When the brothers were cutting wood, he would forbid them to cut down the whole tree so that it may be able to grow up again. He picked up worms so they would not be trampled upon, and had honey and wine set out for the bees in the winter season." I wonder how tipsy they got. "When he would come upon a vast field of flowers, he would preach to them as if they could understand his words." So there are two often retold stories in particular about St. Francis of Assisi, and we've got some old art to go with them for you to appreciate as well. The first is the Sermon to the Birds. As Francis and some companions were traveling through the Spoleto Valley in Italy, Francis noticed a huge flock of birds had gathered in some trees beside a field. He noticed the birds were watching him as if they were expecting something. So Francis walked over to a spot beside the trees and began an impromptu sermon. The monks who heard Francis's sermon to the birds wrote that they observed the birds listen intently to everything he had to say. And while Francis spoke these words, all these birds began to open their beaks, stretch out their necks, and spread their wings and bend their heads reverently towards the earth. And with acts and songs, they showed that the Holy Father, Francis, had given them great pleasure. They remained attentively gathered around him, as the story goes, until he blessed them. And then, all at once, They flew away, some heading north, some south, some east, and some west, going out in all directions as if on their way to pass along the news of the love that St. Francis had shown them. And the other is the story of the wolf. I'm guessing some of y'all have heard this one? Yes. One aspect of the saint's life was his role as a peacemaker, as we hear in this story. There was a wolf who was terrorizing the residents of the town of Gubbio, attacking people and animals alike. St. Francis heard about this wolf, but as he went there, he did not feel it necessary to arm himself. Protected neither by shield nor helmet, only arming himself with the sign of the cross, he was a Catholic priest, remember, he bravely set out of town with his companion. Some local peasants followed the two brothers, keeping a safe distance from them. Finally, the wolf emerged, seeing Francis, and came running as if to attack him. And here's how the story continues. Francis made the sign of the cross, and the wolf stopped and closed its mouth. Then Francis called out to it, "Brother Wolf, I order you not to hurt me or anyone." The wolf then came close to Francis, lowered its head, then lay down at his feet as if it had become as gentle as a lamb. Francis then lectured the wolf for its former cruelties, especially for killing the people, thus making a whole town its deadly enemy. But he wasn't done yet. Then he said, "Brother Wolf, I want to make peace between you and them, so they will not be harmed by you anymore, and after they have forgiven you for your past crimes, neither men nor dogs will pursue you anymore." The wolf responded with gestures of submission, and Francis promised the wolf that the people of Gubbio would henceforth give you food every day as long as you shall live, so that you will never again suffer hunger. In return, the wolf had to give up attacking both the animals and the inhabitants of the town. And as he held out his hand to receive the pledge, the wolf raised its front paw and gently put it in St. Francis' hand as a sign that it had given its pledge. Then he led the wolf back to Gubbio, where the people of the town met them in the town square. Francis assured them the wolf standing at his side would now live in peace, but they were now obligated to feed him every day, and he pledged himself a bondsman for Brother Wolf. After living peacefully within the walls of Gubbio for 2 years, the wolf grew old and died, and the people were sorry because whenever it went through town, its peaceful kindness and patience reminded them of both forgiveness and of the virtues of St. Francis. They're cute stories, right? Yes. Now, whether you believe the stories like this literally or just their sentiment, they are beautiful stories and speak to the preciousness of animals and nature, and also to the reciprocity. Around the time of the Feast of St. Francis, which happened this past week, folks often hold animal blessings and honor the animals around us in our lives. Today, however, I'd like to take a somewhat different perspective and talk about the animals and wildlife in a wider planetary sense. Humanity is vastly outnumbered by other creatures on this planet, and that's a huge understatement. A huge many animals and insects and spiders inhabit every corner of the earth. By the way, any guesses as to what the most populous thing is on the planet? Ants. And they've been around for possibly 120 million years, according to some. Way longer than anything resembling human beings. Humans are so vastly outnumbered by both quantity and mass, yet our choices and our inputs and outputs dominate the planet's resources and have driven many other creatures to extinction, creatures who have been around far longer than we have. So I do need to say, sorry if you were hoping today would be a nice warm and fuzzy kind of animal sermon, because I sometimes do those at animal blessing times. We do like warm and fuzzy things, which is why the plight of polar bears is one of the mascots of the movements addressing climate change, while the many insects of the rainforest or even humble bees are factually much more compelling. The plight of the creatures on our planet is a key issue for many environmentalists. When I was active with population and environmental activism with the organization Population Connection, which was formerly ZPG, Zero Population Growth, I remember talking to some of the other folks also active, and we were sharing about which environmental issues we felt were the most important and decisive ones. Now, obviously, in those conversations, world population was one because that's what we were all gathered to do. But it surprised me that most of us listed one other one in particular as what we felt was the most decisive: species extinction. Now, many environmental issues are deeply connected, just as the processes in life on our Earth are deeply connected. So one could easily claim that climate change or human consumption are the drivers of species extinction and name those as more important. But the fact remains that it is a vital issue, and there is a tremendous loss to our planet and her future and future inhabitants with each and every extinction. There are so many different ways that we can come to understand this and come to terms with it and work with it in whatever way that we may each choose to do so. One of these is a super spiritual perspective, more along the lines of Joanna Macy's work on A Council of All Beings and the like. It's also more akin to the Buddhist ideal that there is no individual self, that all are one and all are deeply connected. And there are plenty of thoughts like this in Unitarian Universalism as well. Now, this is the perspective that works to widen one awareness beyond the self, beyond one's immediate surroundings to find connection, but further to find combination of a sort with anything and everything else. To become each and every animal, to become the rainforest, to become the planet herself, feeling their perspective and indeed becoming their perspective. Their feelings become your feelings, their pain, your pain. Then one cannot help but find ways to protect them and make change happen because it is one's own pain and cannot be ignored. Then there's another perspective, that of seeing the interconnections and the causes and effects in the web in which we live. The UU version of this sentiment is our seventh principle, that of respecting the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. Now, I admit I usually phrase that a bit differently in my head because as it's written to me, it sounds a bit academic, and I prefer to think of respecting the interconnected web of life of which we are a part. But those are just my words. But it is very true that life is interdependent, and the choices of one being affect the reality of many others. And of course, some choices have a much greater impact than others. And human choices, particularly those of humans in high consumption areas, have a truly unbalanced impact in the grand scheme of things. This perspective calls on our sense of attentiveness and our sense of responsibility a bit more in order to call us to action. Now, sometimes a self-serving perspective can carry motivation, but I don't really believe that that's enough. Certainly not enough for the long haul, at least not until one's lifestyle and situation is so impacted that it's all that you can do. Now, I admit this may sound pessimistic, but it's something I think about a good deal, and I see examples of around us. So remember back to in the beginning of the COVID pandemic and the shutdown, when a significant portion of the population was willing to make changes for the greater good. Remember that time? Remember how short-lived it was? And then it was a significant portion of the population, might have even been a little bit more, was willing to make changes as they framed that it protected themselves. Remember that? It lasted longer, but still not enough. I don't know if it's true that COVID might have been able to be eradicated if more folks had made changes for longer, but certainly its spread and impact would have been lessened for sure if they had. St. Francis of Assisi understood the interconnections, and that's the perspective that he brought in the story about the wolf. Because he talked about reciprocity, and he asked something of the wolf, and he asked something of the villagers. But you know, he brought yet a different perspective in the story with the birds. He wasn't acting from a sense of interconnectedness or a sense of oneness with them, although that may have also been true for him. There he was acting with a sense of delight and just overall connection with nature. And that is beautiful all on its own. According to the monks who were with him that day, what they remembered about his sermon for the birds is that it was about how beautiful they were and how his God took care of them for nothing in return, just because they were. That is just delight and celebration of them. How often do you go out and celebrate the natural world and just be with it? Whether it's just watching a sleeping cat, I love doing that, I do it quite regularly, or taking a walk in the woods, or perhaps even just in your own neighborhood, or seeking out some other way. I've always been fascinated by the bees, and also deeply appreciative of them. I mean, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have food. So one day I borrowed a beekeeping suit, and I went to a hive opening to get to be there with them up close. One of the experienced keepers pulled out a drone who hadn't grown his stinger yet and brought it over. I'd had my gloves off and put it in my bare hands. And I got to hold this drone for the next half hour or so, just being there with him. I still remember the feeling of his feet walking on my hands and how every single part of him looked as I got to hold him and just delight about all of it. How often do you go out and seek those unique moments? And there can be more unique, like the bees experience, or just everyday ones, like walking through your neighborhood and noticing, really noticing the plants and insects there. Now, I'm not saying you should stop and preach to them. You can if you want. But how about, as you're going, just smiling, remembering to smile and reminding yourself how awesome they all are. We share this planet, and we will keep sharing this planet for as many years as we humans are around on her. And rather than assuming we're at the top of whatever ultimate food chain or power ladder that we might, let us work on shifting, really shifting that perspective for ourselves, embodying it for others to see, and finding every way we can to live it out in the world. Does it matter much? Oh yes, I believe it matters far more than we will ever realize. Just like the butterfly in the science fiction story, who knows what the impact of a little choice we make now is many, many years down the road. It matters to our spirits as well as to the literal survival and balance of nature on this planet. It is a spiritual mandate, and it is an ethical mandate. How will we each and we together find ways to protect our earth and all of her inhabitants? May we go forward and see them and truly bless them. May it be so.
At this point in our service, we invite you to make an offering. With our offering, each of us has the opportunity to recommit to making UUCB a strong and vibrant community. For now, we're conducting the offering in the sanctuary without passing the plate. Instead, you can either give electronically or you can take a donation envelope from the back of the pew in front of you and place it into the donation box, which sits beside the fountain in the atrium. We support our wonderful Good Neighbor organizations through our plate offering. Each week, half our plate offering is shared with the Good Neighbor organization recommended by our Social Justice Council. Nominations for 2023 recipients are now open until November 7th. Nomination forms are available in the atrium at the Social Justice Committee table. We're grateful that you've continued to practice generosity with our good neighbors through these very hard times. Offerings of any value are always received with gratitude. Thank you. This month, our good neighbor is GRIP, the Greater Richmond Interfaith Program. GRIP is a multicultural, multi-ethnic coalition of congregations from varied faiths working together as a diverse and inclusive coalition dedicated to helping those of our community in need to transition to self-sufficiency. And I believe the GRIP Harmony Walk is on October 22nd, and there will be a slide about it. So, thank you for your generosity. Sorry about that. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright, blessed day, dark, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
I just want to give a shout out to Kathleen for that absolutely fabulous solo of that beautiful music that you just shared with us. Thank you, Kathleen. She might be hiding back there right now. She was very nervous. All right, this has been so great being together, has it not? And I have some stuff coming up. There is so much happening in the church right now. Please be taking a look at the week ahead and checking out on the website. There is so much going on that there seem like things every week. I want to give a shout out to all the people who helped out with Brian Baker and Friends last night. Fabulous concert we had here. Thank you all. And a shout out to everyone who helped out with the firefighter pancake breakfast. Welcome pancake breakfast this morning. Thank you. So some things of note coming up this week, particularly relating to the UUCB's decision about Freestone. We will have a congregational meeting 2 weeks from today, October 23rd, after the worship service. If you need childcare, please sign up for it. We're going to have childcare for that and for the Q&A session next Sunday after the service. That one will be live streamed and recorded for viewing later, as well as next Monday, so a week from tomorrow, another Q&A session that evening on Zoom, also recorded. And then coming up this Thursday, also related to Freestone, the Sonoma County real estate attorney, Tina Wallace, will have a meeting with her on Zoom to ask questions about her letter and about zoning and codes in Sonoma County. Please send me your questions ahead of time. If you have questions that you can send me today, great, so I can get them to her in advance. If not, send me the questions this week, because I'll be the one sharing the questions with her for her to be sure to answer. And if you have not already made a Black Lives Matter sign, after the destruction of the congregation's Black Lives Matter sign on Arlington, we have created a sea of Black Lives Matter signs around it because whoever it is that tried to keep us quiet can't. So if you've not made, yes, thank you all. If you've not made a sign yet, there are materials out there, Next week we'll be unrolling and showing you our Black Lives Matter sign that'll be going out and inviting our dedication to the work, to our anti-racism work in the world, and inviting you to sign the sign. Sign the sign, isn't that cute? Yes, that'll be starting next week, and it will be rededicated in and after the service on November the 6th. All right, that's a lot, right? And there's even more. Please, the week ahead, the website. Absolutely, the church is an awesome place. And for some reason, Michael DeWitt is waving his hands at me. Michael? Oh yeah, there's a picnic this Saturday. The last picnic of this series at Freestone, this coming Saturday. All right, shall we sing a nice environmental song now? All right, for the earth forever turning, please rise in body and spirit, and let's finish up with song.
For the earth forever turning, for the skies for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace.
For this earth and all the creatures she carries on her spinning service, may we exclaim joy, and may we exclaim a sense of responsibility as well. Let us strive to increase our awareness of the many creatures with whom we share this so beautiful and so fragile planet. May we live gently and with compassion amongst them. Blessed be.